Have you ever felt like your voice didn't matter? Like your story was too broken, too painful, or too ordinary to be heard? I once believed that too. I thought my scars silenced me, that my pain disqualified me from inspiring others. But then I met someone through her story, her strength, and her spirit, who taught me that every voice matters, especially the one within. Her name is Muniba Mazari, a woman who turned her wheelchair into a throne and her tragedy into a testimony. She made me realize that confidence isn't about perfection. It's about owning your story, embracing your flaws, and believing that your voice, just as it is, has power. Today, I want to take you on a journey. A journey not to find someone else's approval, but to rediscover the strength that already lives inside you. This is the voice within, finding confidence in your story. We live in a world that often celebrates perfection, flawless skin, perfect bodies, ideal lives. We scroll through social media feeds filled with curated moments, where every smile seems effortless and every life seems picture perfect. In this constant comparison, it's easy to start believing that our imperfections are something to hide, something to be ashamed of. But the truth is, it's our imperfections that make us real. They make us relatable. They make us human. Think about it. Have you ever truly connected with someone who pretended to have it all together? Or did you find comfort in the stories of those who, despite their struggles, stood tall and spoke their truth? Confidence doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from having the courage to be seen exactly as you are. When you embrace your imperfections, you stop running from your story and start owning it. Muniba Mazari is a living example of this truth. She didn't hide her scars. She didn't cover her wheelchair. She didn't wait for her life to be fixed before she stood up, figuratively, and spoke out. She let her imperfections speak because she knew they had a story to tell. That story, raw, real, and resilient, touched hearts across the world. Because people saw themselves in her pain, they saw strength in her vulnerability, they saw beauty in her brokenness. So many of us spend years trying to fix ourselves, thinking we need to become someone else before we can feel worthy. But what if we stopped trying to be perfect and started being honest? What if we could see that the very things we try to hide, our fears, our failures, our flaws, are actually the bridges that connect us to others? When we dare to show up as we are, we give others permission to do the same. I remember a time in my life when I tried to hide everything I considered a flaw. I silenced my voice because I thought it wasn't strong enough. I hid my story because I thought it wasn't inspiring enough. I let shame be louder than my truth. But shame thrives in secrecy. The moment I chose to bring my imperfections into the light, something shifted. I stopped feeling like I had to pretend. I started feeling free. There is immense strength in embracing what makes you different. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, looking at someone else's life and wishing yours looked the same. But every time we compare, we dim the light of our own story. Your journey, with all its twists and turns, is not a mistake. It's your unique path, shaped by your experiences, your pain, your growth. Confidence doesn't come from erasing your imperfections. It comes from owning them. It's in the way you walk into a room and say, "This is who I am. I may not be perfect, but I am powerful." That power isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet. It's calm. It's the kind of confidence that says, "I don't need to prove myself. I just need to be myself." When you embrace your imperfections, you start to see them differently. You begin to understand that your vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a doorway to connection. The cracks in your armor let the light in, and more importantly, they let your light out. You don't need to be flawless to be inspiring. You just need to be real. We've been conditioned to hide the parts of us that don't fit the mold. But growth begins where perfection ends. It begins in the moments you stumble, fall, and still choose to rise. It begins when you stop waiting to be enough and start believing that you already are. You become confident not when the world accepts you, but when you accept you. But when you There is beauty in imperfection, in the messy middle of our stories. That's where resilience is born. That's where strength is forged. That's where your voice finds its power. You don't need to change to inspire others. You just need to show up, flaws and all. Your story has power more than you realize. But for most of us, it doesn't feel that way. We look at our past, our failures, our pain, and think, who would want to hear this? We doubt the value of our experiences because they don't look like someone else's success story. But here's the truth. It is not the perfection in a story that inspires, it is the authenticity. And your story, in all its honesty, has the potential to move hearts, to change lives, and to remind someone out there that they are not alone. We often underestimate what we've survived. The moments we thought would break us, but didn't. The days we carried ourselves forward when everything in us wanted to give up. Those aren't just memories, they're milestones, the evidence of our strength. And when we share them, we turn our pain into purpose. Muniba Mazari says, don't just exist, live. Living in its truest form means daring to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. It means trusting that someone, somewhere, needs to hear what you've been through so they can believe in what they can get through. So many people carry the weight of silence. They've been told to keep their struggles hidden, to wear a smile even when they're breaking inside. But silence doesn't heal. Sharing does. Speaking your story, whether to one person or to many, is an act of courage. It tells the world, I've been through something and I'm still standing. That's power. That's the kind of power that doesn't need applause or recognition. It's quiet, but it's transformational. Your story doesn't need to be dramatic to be powerful. Sometimes the most life-changing stories are the simple ones. The quiet battles with self-doubt, the small victories that no one saw, the everyday strength that kept you going. There's no such thing as a story too small. If it shaped you, if it taught you, if it changed you, then it matters. And when you choose to share it, you give it new life. You give it wings. We live in a world hungry for realness. People are tired of masks, filters of carefully edited lives. What they crave is connection, and connection comes through vulnerability. It comes when you look someone in the eye and say, I've been there too. When you share your story, you create space for others to do the same. You become a mirror, reflecting their hidden courage back at them. You become proof that healing is possible, that pain can have a purpose, and that scars can become symbols of strength. Muniba Mazari's story didn't just touch people because of what she went through. It touched people because of how she chose to rise, how she turned her voice into a message of hope. Message of hope. What is it? She reminds us that even when life takes away your ability to walk, it can never take away your ability to rise. She didn't let her circumstances silence her. She let them shape her. And through that, her voice became louder than her pain. That is what your story can do too. There's incredible freedom in owning your story. When you stop hiding the parts of yourself you once felt ashamed of, you start to reclaim your power. You no longer need to seek validation from others because you've already validated your own journey. So you begin to understand that your story isn't a burden. It's a gift. It holds lessons, wisdom, and strength that someone else might desperately need. You might not always see the impact of your story, but that doesn't mean it's not making a difference. Sometimes it's a single sentence that resonates with someone. Sometimes it's the way you said, I've been beat. That helps another person breathe a little easier. You don't have to be famous, flawless, or fearless to be a voice of change. You just have to be willing to be real. When you find the courage to speak your truth, you also inspire others to find theirs. Your voice becomes a ripple, reaching places you may never even see. It echoes through the silence that others are afraid to break. And slowly, it builds a community of strength, honesty, and resilience. The moment you decide to own your story is the moment it stops owning you. It becomes a tool, not just for your healing, but for someone else's hope. When you stop running from your past and start standing in it, you turn it into a platform, not a prison. You start to understand that your experiences, every heartbreak, every failure, every breakthrough, are not just chapters in your life. They are stepping stones, each one bringing you closer to who you were always meant to be. Confidence is something we all crave, so often misunderstand. We chase it in the form of compliments, achievements, and external recognition, hoping that if enough people believe in us, maybe we'll start to believe in ourselves too. But true confidence doesn't come from the outside. One, from the outside. It begins within. It begins with self-acceptance, the quiet, powerful decision to stop fighting who you are and start embracing every part of yourself, even the ones you once tried to hide. We grow up in a world that teaches us to compare. From the earliest age, we are measured, judged, and ranked. We're told who's better, who's smarter, who's more beautiful, who's more successful, and in all this comparison, we begin to doubt ourselves. We start to believe that we are only as good as the approval we receive. We look to others for validation, and we start to shape our lives around what will make us feel accepted. But the moment we rely on external validation for confidence, we place our self-worth in someone else's hands. That kind of confidence is fleeting. It disappears the second someone disapproves, criticizes, or rejects us. Self-acceptance is the antidote. It's the realization that you are enough, not when you become thinner, richer, more successful, or more liked, but right now, exactly as you are. It's the understanding that your worth is not up for debate, that you don't have to earn love or approval by being anything other than your authentic self. When you reach that place of self-acceptance, confidence follows, not the loud kind that shouts for attention, but the quiet kind that walks into a room and doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Muniba Mazari's journey is a beautiful reflection of this kind of confidence. After her accident, she faced a world that constantly reminded her of what she had lost. She was told that her life, her body, her dreams would never be the same. And yet, instead of hiding, she chose to show up fully, honestly, unapologetically. She didn't wait for the world to accept her before she accepted herself. She chose to stand tall in her truth, even when she was sitting in a wheelchair. Her confidence didn't come from pretending to be unaffected. It came from embracing her vulnerability, her fears, and her story. There is something profoundly empowering about owning your flaws, your past, your pain. When you no longer try to edit or erase parts of yourself, you begin to live more freely. You stop worrying about what others think because you've already decided what you think about yourself. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, and you start creating your own. That is the kind of confidence that cannot be taken away, because it wasn't built on someone else's opinion in the first place. Confidence through self-acceptance means giving yourself grace. It means allowing yourself to be a work in progress without shame. It means knowing that you don't have to have everything figured out to be worthy of love, respect, and happiness. You don't need to wear a mask or play a role. You just need to be you, the messy, evolving, beautifully imperfect you. And when you do that, you become magnetic. Not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because authenticity is powerful. There will always be people who doubt you, misunderstand you, or judge you, but their opinion doesn't get to define you. What matters most is the relationship you have with yourself. Do you speak to yourself with kindness or criticism? Do you celebrate your growth, or do you only see your mistakes? Confidence is rooted in the way you treat yourself. When you become your own ally instead of your own enemy, you stop waiting for permission to feel good about yourself. You start living from a place of inner peace, not outer pressure. Confidence doesn't mean never feeling insecure. It means being able to feel those insecurities and still move forward. It means hearing that inner voice of doubt and choosing not to believe it. It means showing up anyway, even when you feel afraid. Self-acceptance doesn't erase fear, but it gives you the strength to rise above it. It reminds you that you are more than your worst today, your harshest critic, or your deepest regret. It allows you to step into your life fully, without apology or disguise. The most beautiful, unshakable confidence is the kind that grows in silence, in the moments when no one is watching, and you choose to love yourself anyway. It's the kind that whispers, "I belong here," not because someone told you so, but because you decided to believe it. It's the kind that stands firm, even when the world tries to make you doubt your worth.